Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Kesubos daf chov zayin, the 8-minute daf. How's everybody doing? Today, once again, we're learning Shas Katan. We have all these exciting sugyas. We're going to be discussing Yayin Nesach, soldiers that go through a town. Do the barrels become Yayin Nesach? We're going to be talking about the famous sugya of Shnei Shvilim, two paths, and there's a grave in one of them. We don't know where's what and who's where. We're going to be talking about get yasham. What does that mean? So, going back to what we were discussing yesterday, there's a woman who was imprisoned. And it depends if she was imprisoned for monetary reasons. If she was imprisoned for nefashos, let's say she herself is chayiv misa, she killed somebody, she's chayiv misa. Rashi explains in the Mishnah that she herself is the one. She's usher to her husband because people are going to treat her behefkeros once she's already chayiv misa. According to Rav, we're not talking about she herself is chayiv misa, rather she's the wife of a ganav. In those days, they would kill people for stealing. According to Levi, it's only the wife of a killer. We have a machlokes though. What happens before they have a gemar din, before they decided that she must die or her husband must die? Says the brand new Mishnah, a city that was captured, there was a siege on the city. Unbelievable halacha. All the women who are married to kohanim are usher to their husbands because a kohenes, if somebody violates her, even against her will, she becomes usher to her husband. And we have to assume, since you have soldiers, we're going to see soon from that country or from other countries, they most likely have violated these women. Now, there is an exception to the rule, or a few exceptions to the rule. If there are Eidim that could testify that they haven't been violated, or there's a good hiding place, or if they are the soldiers from that ruler and they are careful not to violate the women because they want the money that comes out of that city. Some also say that you need a shmira. They have to be watched at all times. There has to be that the soldiers don't go into the city. There's a special watching, as the Gemara describes. It could be chains and geese and dogs, etc. However, if it's soldiers from another ruler, even though we say that typically a soldier who goes through doesn't have the mindset to do yayin nesach, to worship his idols, but he'll find the time to violate women. You see a big yesod here, that even when people are very, very busy, they find the time to do what they need to do. That includes also learning Torah when you don't really have the time. When there is peace in the city and soldiers come by, if the barrels are open, then we have to be concerned that the wine is yayin nesach. Now, as we mentioned before, if there's a hiding place, then the women are mutter to their husbands. How big is this hiding place? The Gemara tells us unbelievable. Even if the hiding place could only hold one woman, all 10,000 women of the city are mutter to their husband because we don't know for sure and certain that anyone was violated. It makes sense that they were, but we don't know for certain. But we have a very similar case, and over there, it's very different. We have the case of two pathways. There's a grave in one of the two pathways. We don't know if it's in A or B. And two people walked through the pathways and then they went home and they dealt with taharos. What's the halacha of those taharos? One of them is 100% tameh. However, this is different in our case because over here there's 100% certainty that there's a grave there. It's not maybe. Therefore, Rabbi Yosi paskin that if somebody comes forward to a Rav, one of the two people comes forward and he asks the Rav a question. I went on path A and my friend went on path B. Rabbi Yosi paskins that they're both tameh. What about a case where a woman says, I was in the city when the soldiers came by, I did not hide from them, but I'm telling you that I'm not tameh from them. So on the one hand, she could have lied, and she could have said she hid like everybody else, but she said, I'll be honest. But at the same time, do we have to trust her for everything she's saying? So on the one hand, there's only chashash. Nobody knows for certain that she was tameh. And this is also, the Gemara says, different than a case of mali l'shakar, why should I lie? In a case where there's also Eidim. What's the case? A person rented out his donkey to his friend, and he said, listen, on condition that you don't go through Nahar Pekayt, there's usually water in the river, and if you take my donkey there, he might die. The guy comes back with a dead donkey, and he says, I went through Nahar Pekayt like you told me not to, but there was no water there. Over here, we have Anan Sahade. We have like witnesses. It's almost like we have witnesses who can testify to the fact that there is usually water there, and that's why he's not believed. A slave is believed to say that this woman wasn't violated. And we have a machlekes tanoim if even the own woman slave is believed and her son and her daughter, are they believed? However, according to everybody, likula alma, if the slave is masiach lefituma, as we discussed yesterday, slave is just saying over a story. My master and I were in hiding, and we almost got caught, but nobody ever found us. Not coming to testify, but just saying over a story, then according to everybody, she's believed. We have an interesting situation. We have a shchiv merah, somebody who's about to die, and he's very concerned that his wife, after he dies, might fall to his own brother, and she'll fall yibum. So he wants to save her, so he writes her a get, but he doesn't want to divorce her. They're still married, he's not dead yet. So he puts in the get that it should only take effect from the time he dies, retroactive to the time he wrote the get. The halacha is that the two of them cannot be together in the same room, and if they are, then the get is possible. Comes a shifcha, and she's testifying that they weren't together. There's no yichud. If they were misyachid, it's called get yashan. That's what a get yashan is. It was predated, and they had yichud after the date. People might come to say that she had a child after she was divorced as a single woman. So we have three shittas here, as you can see. Rav Papi with a yud says that when it comes to a captured woman, it's different than this story of a get. They were more makel to trust a shifcha. Rav Papi says no, they weren't more makel. Rav Ashi says that when it comes to a shifcha, we trust her when all she has to do is testify. All she has to do, because she's doing something in the positive. She's not going to go out of her way and testify falsely. We don't trust her when all she has to do is remain quiet. That's easy to do. So therefore, over here, where she has to testify that her master wasn't Tmeya, she's completely believed. Another interesting story. We have a character, his name is Mari Bar Isak, a tough guy. He's from the mafia. Everybody's scared of him. Rav Chizda tells him, even though typically speaking, if somebody wants money from you, they have to bring the proof. In your case, since you're a tough guy and people are scared of you and all witnesses are scared of you, I'm going to put the onus on you. You have to prove that you don't own this, you don't owe this fellow who claims to be your brother, you don't owe him some of the inheritance. And that's what we call tarti lo yavdi, because the witnesses are not going to do two things that are bad. They're not going to be quiet and testify falsely. Two things they won't do. Have a wonderful day.